Wild Arms 2. The sequel to the first Wild Arms, released for the PlayStation 1, is in almost every way superior to the first Wild Arms in terms of gameplay mechanics, cool ideas, maps, puzzles. It's just a great time. It's a perfect blend between sprite work, like that Super Nintendo era, that they were keeping around for a bunch of PS1 games like Grandia, Xenogears, and Wild Arms 1, obviously. And they combined that sprite work with 3D models for the battle system. And the 3D models in Wild Arms 2 no longer look like chibis like they do in the Wild Arms 1, so I really do like the characters here in Wild Arms 2. There's just a couple things that I would say Wild Arms 1 does a little bit better, and that would be the streamlined plot and the opening incident, the inciting incident with the main enemies, the demons, the cyborg aliens from outer space. I thought that the introduction there was very good. The story in Arctica that you saw while you were waiting on the title screen, the stuff with Jack's origin, I thought that was very good. The attack on the town, I thought that was very good, and how the town would slowly rebuild itself over the course of the entire game, I also thought that was very good. But you were condensed with just 3 characters. Two of them were very well built story-wise, and the third one's just kind of there because they made him a silent protagonist, and I don't know why they did that. Luckily, the main character in this one, Ashley Winchester, I'm just going to call him Ash. Ash Winchester is the vocalized protagonist. He's got blue hair like all the others. It's a breath of fire type of thing. Every main character's going to have blue hair, I guess. And so Ash Winchester, he talks. He's got a story. He's got a plot line. He's got some levels of character growth. But I will mention this. Wild Arms 2 suffers from one of the worst translation localizations of all time. The language, the English language that you're going to be reading in these text boxes almost sound like English at times. There's a lot of poor translations, and some things you're going to be reading 3 or 4 times wondering, what the heck, why would they speak like this? Are they aliens? And so you're going to see a lot of poor translation with that. And it's just something that I wish they re-released, they remastered Wild Arms 2 maybe, and fixed the translations, and fixed up the dialogue to make it sound more like it belongs in the English language, rather than feeling like English, because it really does confuse you a lot of the time with what people are saying. They're saying words that you go like, I do not think you know what that word means. I don't think it means what you think it means. It's very confusing sometimes when some of the words that they're using here, and you go to look up, oh, they might be meaning this word instead. That would have made more sense, but that didn't belong in the direct translation. So I don't know who directly translated this. I didn't bother to look it up, but I think you dropped the ball on that one. You gotta get somebody else in there. And obviously, it's PS1 era. Japanese game translations are a little bit hit or miss. Xenogears is still one of the best translated games I've ever played. It's fantastic. Yeah, I could get lost reading that stuff, man. It is so good. It is so good. Final Fantasy, obviously, 7 through 9 has great translation. 7's a little messy. 8 and 9 are a lot better. Because obviously with 7, we got the mistranslation with Eris, because it's Aerith, not Eris. It's just the English when they say Arisu, and you go like, oh, you mean Eris? No, Aritha. But the th sound don't exist in that language. But you know that the other words would have the th sound. I don't know why though. I don't know. But yeah, Wild Arms 2 has very, very poor translation. Very bad. So it's probably the worst translation in the entire franchise, in the entire series. That might be why this game doesn't get as much love as it deserves. The first game got a remake for the PlayStation 2, and that one I would say is the definitive version because it does fix a lot of the problems. Remember my joke about Surf Village with Rudy, and how the people of the land shunned him for using a gun arm, and they're all going like, "That's bad. You can't do that. That's bad, okay?" And it's like, yeah, they fix that in the remake. They do. They fix that in the remake. Near the later part of the game, if you return to Surf Village, they will reconcile with Rudy and go like, "You know what? We were kind of dumb. You're all right, Rudy." And Rudy will finally get the respect he deserves, and that makes me happy knowing that happened. It makes me happy knowing that happened. I kind of wish they'd happened with Wild Arms 2, that they made a remaster or a remake at some point. They really need to go back and do that. They need to make a Wild Arms series bundle pack, you know? They need to do that with Breath of Fire, and they need to do it with Wild Arms. Basically, and they need to do it with Persona. You know, Persona 1, 2, Innocent Sin, and 3, Eternal Punishment. They need to bundle that together. Basically, make 3 bundle packs for the PlayStation 6. The Breath of Fire collection, which comes with Breath of Fire 1 through Dragon Quarter, which I believe is 5. So have all 5 games in a single bundle pack release, physical and digital, for the PlayStation 5 and for the PC. And then have the Persona collection, which comes with Persona 1, Persona 2 Innocent Sin, and Persona 2 Eternal Punishment in a 3-in-1 collection, remastered, and release that for the PS5 and for the PC. And then do the same for Wild Arms. Release all, I believe there's like 5 of these as well, so release all of them, and the remake, bundle the remake in, and the first game, so 6 games. Put all that together in the Wild Arms collection, retranslate Wild Arms 2, obviously, and put the Wild Arms collection out there on physical and on PC. Physical, digital, and PC. PS5, PC, physical, digital, all that, yeah. But I think you should do that. It's a great idea. Sony actually owns the rights to this franchise, so obviously they can do this. They could just say, alright, we could just re-release this. Plans want it, let's do it. And it's just a matter of doing it, really is. Just a matter of, alright, let's do it, and they do it. So you just gotta do it, you just gotta do it, you just gotta do it, Sony, you just gotta do it, you just gotta release it, you just gotta come in, get a new translator guy in here, fix this up. If you just want to release the second one, do that. Call it Wild Arms 2 Remastered, put it out there, and people will buy it. There are fans of these older games, they want them. You've already found out with Live a Live, with the Lunar release, Tactics release. We're in that time period. We're in the time period where all these PS1 games are being remastered. It's time for Wild Arms. It's time, Sony. It is time to bring Wild Arms back. So let's do it. Make Wild Arms the way it was always meant to be. Now, there's a lot of great things about Wild Arms that I also liked. We have 6 playable characters instead of 3 this time, and they do split up the roles from the main 3 playable characters across the 6 playable characters. What does that mean? Well, Ash Winchester clearly has most of the stuff that Rudy would have. He's got the blue hair for one thing, but he no longer uses bombs. Rudy has been split up between him and Brad Evans. Brad Evans has elements of both Rudy and Jack. He's the physical powerhouse like Jack. He's got the highest HP like Rudy. He's got the highest defense like Jack or Rudy. He can use gun arms just like Rudy, but he uses heavy arms. He's the slowest of the 3, but you can modify his response, which is his agility, to make him a little bit faster. He has the lock-on ability like Rudy did. Ash doesn't have the lock-on ability. Ash can use gun arms, but he doesn't have lock-on. So what does that mean? Well, that means when you go in to upgrade your gun arms, in Wild Arms 2, they limit you to 10 upgrades. Or 9 upgrades, really. So you start at level 1, and you go to max level 10. And you can upgrade any of the 3 categories, just like in the first game. But you can only upgrade the gun up to 10, level 10. So you can either upgrade the damage. Each time you upgrade the damage, the weapon goes up 1 level. You can upgrade the accuracy, and every time the accuracy goes up, it goes up 1 level. Or you can upgrade the bullet count. Every time you upgrade the bullet count, it goes up 1 level. So let's say you get a gun that has 40 damage modifier with 70% accuracy and 5 bullets. You could give it an extra 5 bullets to give it 15 bullets, but then you won't be able to upgrade the damage or the accuracy. You could decide to give all 10 into damage, and then it will be a really powerful gun, but very bad accuracy and very low ammunition. I would recommend doing that for Brad. Because you see, Brad's lock-on bypasses accuracy checks and will always hit the target 100% of the time. And it's his level 1 force ability. It requires only 25 force. He'll be able to use this ability as soon as he hits level 25 on his first turn. So it's a very powerful weapon, very powerful ability. Which means if you just put all 10 levels into attack, you will be able to do damage like 3 to 4 to 5,000 damage per turn every time you use this lock-on. Pretty much at the start of the game. Now that's overkill, man. He will be overkill. He will be very, very palpable. He'll probably be your best character. And they try to mitigate this by making damage once again the highest cost, so you will have to grind for gold, for Gela, as they call it in this series. You'll have to grind for that to upgrade his damage to the maximum level, but you will be able to easily do that near the end of the game. As soon as you get the Lombardia, which is like this game's franchise version of the airship, it's very much classic Final Fantasy feeling like that. So you will play the game, near the end of the game, you'll get access to an airship to fly all over the world map. It's the Final Fantasy aesthetic that I love. And so I loved this. So basically, near the end of the game, you could just go find an island, you kill some enemies, you get 5 to 10,000 gold each time. You just do that for an hour, max out Brad's weapons very quickly. But you can also do that pretty early on with the boat. If you get a boat, you can finally eventually fly over to use the boat to get to one of the islands with really powerful enemies. And if you can survive there, you'll get 5 to 10,000 gold each time. And Brad will eventually be unstoppable. He will be unstoppable. There is no item duplication glitch in this game, so you won't be able to get max items through any trickery or anything like that, not without modifying your save file, game sharking it, or whatever. You will have to play it normally, or you can just get a modified save file off the internet. And there are quite a few on game FAQs. You can go ahead and go onto there and get whatever you want. You will need to do the PSV file formats for the PlayStation 3, because that's the format the PlayStation 3 reads. It won't read any of the other files. If you find a PS1 file in any of the other denominations like MCR format or GME format or anything like that, it won't read it. You will have to convert it to PSV somehow. I'm not going to tell you how. You'll probably figure that out yourself. But it's very easy to modify your PS1 games. It's perfectly fine to do that. You don't need to break your console. You don't need to do any of that stuff. It doesn't bother anybody with PS1 because there's no trophies. There's no account connected to it. It's pretty much emulation. It emulates the PS1, so you're playing it like it's a PS1 game. So if you want to modify it, go ahead. It's your game. Do whatever you want with it. You paid for it. Play it your way. That's how I believe games should be played. Your way. Anyways, Brad Evans is probably the best design in my opinion. He's got great design. He's got a great character. His dialogue is very poor, though, probably because of the poor translation errors and all that stuff. But Story-wise, he is a soldier from the Slayhame Liberation Army. This game world has 4 nations. We have Slayhame, Guild Galad. You see, obviously these are like translation errors. So this is probably like Guild Galad or like something like Galahad maybe. And then we have Sylvania, and then we have Maria Bowl. So yeah, these are the 4 kingdoms. Slayhame is like a desert kingdom. Guild Galad is another desert kingdom, but it's more advanced technologically. It's kind of like Midgar. Sylvia is very much a green and lustrous verdant garden and country. And then Maria Bold is your typical country. It's like Adelaide from the first game. It's basically that, but you don't have a princess character in your party. Ash is very much a soldier. He's just a working class soldier that lives in this town. And his story is very, very good. You know, his Ash's story. He's got a little sweetheart living in the city of Maria Bold. He lives with her and her mom. He lives in the upstairs bedroom because his parents died when he was young. So his best friend, which is actually his childhood sweetheart, I think Marina's mother and father, the Bakers, took him in and raised him together. And you knew from the start that these two were going to get together. It's very sweet. It's very sweet. It's kind of like the Yusuke and Keiko romance in Yu Yu Hakusho. It's very much like that. It's very much like that. What else? So yeah, the Slayhame Liberation Army. Slayhame finds a lot of great and powerful weapons. This is once again just like the first Wild Arms game. 1,000 years ago, there was this big catastrophe, and everybody was super highly advanced 1,000 years ago. Then after a catastrophe, everybody loses their highly advanced stuff. So over the course of the next 1,000 years, we're digging up the past, and the past is future tech, which is basically what these games do. So Slayhame dug up a nuclear weapon, and the king threatened to use this nuclear weapon to conquer the world or whatever. And so the Slayhame Liberation Army comes in to stop the Slayhame king, and then the Slayhame king accidentally launches the nuke on Slayhame itself, destroying the nation and decimating both sides. The Slayhame Liberation Army's survivors were then treated like war criminals for causing the destruction of this kingdom, even though it was the Slayhame king who caused the destruction itself. But that's just how people work. They're not very logical. Well, now Brad's on the run. He's like a prisoner. He's like a convict type of character that he's captured, and then he's thrown in jail for the next 5 or so years. And then we start the game, and then Ash is recruited to go rescue Brad. I'm not going to tell the whole story of this. I'm going to be here for 3 friggin' weeks if I tell the whole story. So I'm just going to talk about the characters' backgrounds very basically, very briefly. So Brad's a prisoner. He gets broken out by Ash and the rest of his party, and he joins the Arms Organization, which is a military organization that forms under Irving Valeria. The Valeria family claims to be descended from the hero who defeated the Demon King 1,000 years ago. But spoilers, the hero who defeated the Demon King 1,000 years ago was adopted, and she never had any children. So it was just the noble family that took her in that was just claiming to be super awesome. But then that's just typical, right? Typical of nobles to like preserve family bloodlines and all that stuff. There's a lot of questionable stuff going on here. I definitely recommend you play this game, though. I definitely recommend that you play this game to see what's going on with these characters. I'm not going to go into too much detail about Valeria and his family, but there's some stuff that happens near the end of the game that you're gonna read that, and then you're gonna want to read it again. And you go, did he just do that? Did he really just do that with his sister? Really? Did he just go there? You gotta play it. You gotta play it. The third character is Lilka. Lilka is very much like Cecilia from the first Wild Arms game. She is a crest mage. It's exactly the same formula. The only difference is Lilka's level 2 spells. They're not multi-target hitting like Cecilia's spells, where Lilka's level 2 spells are just heavier hitting single target spells. If you want to multi-target, you're going to have to use force points from Lilka to do that, which just means you're going to, every time you use force points, there are 4 force point abilities that you can use. Each tier costs 25 points to use, 25 points to use this, 50 points to use this, 75 points to use this, 100 points to use this, and each tier you do, it will use up that many force points. So for example, Brad's Lock-On is his level tier 1 force points ability. It will only cost 25 force points to use it. So if Brad decides to use Lock-On when he has 100 force points, he will be able to use this 4 times at the least. Force points are accumulated multiple ways. There's one way by leveling up. Every time you level up, you will start the battle with the force points equivalent to your character's level. For example, if your character is level 25, you will start the battle with 25 force points, which means you could use a tier 1 force ability at the starting turn, and it's a pretty powerful attack for the force points, then you can just wipe out the whole random battle in one turn sometimes. But of course, you gotta monitor that. There's no magic points in this game. Unlike the first game, Cecilia had to monitor her spells with magic. In Wild Arms 2, spells are purely force points based, and they do not deplete when you use a spell. They only deplete when you use your force points tier abilities. For example, if Lilka is level 25, she will have access to the Fireball spell, which is a tier 1 fire spell. And let's say this Fireball spell requires 12 force points to be able to be used. So she casts Fireball onto an enemy. Her force points will not be reduced by 12. She will keep 25 as her default force points. The force points that she has accumulated is only going to be counted towards what she's able to cast. For example, if she's level 25, she starts the battle at 25 force points, and there's a spell that requires 50 force points to use, it will be grayed out, and she will not be able to use it. If, after a few turns, she attacks the enemy, the way you accumulate force points, you can attack the enemy physically. Not with a special ability, but regular physical attacks. Those will increase force points. You can also take damage. If you are just attacked by an enemy, you will increase your force points. If you defend against an attack, you will increase your force points. If you dodge an attack, you will increase your force points. If you counterattack, you will increase your force points. Does this start to make sense now? So there are many ways to increase your force points in battle, but mostly that starting force points is what determines how quickly a battle can be taken care of. If you have a character that is level 50, you will be able to use level 50 point spells and wipe out the entire enemy party in one turn. So that's a very quick way to grind to get even higher levels. You can beat this game roughly around level 40 to 45, 35 to 40. Even though the max level is 100, the only reason you're going to be doing the max level is to fight the super bosses. And so if you're planning to 100% the game, you're going to need to grind. But if you have no intention of 100%ing the game, then you don't need to grind. You could just go in at level 35 to 40 and you'll be able to finish it pretty easily. Just make sure you get the 6th character. The 6th character is technically a secret character, but I recommend you get her. You're gonna wanna. The 4th character to collect is Tim. Tim is kind of like a summoner class character. We had summons in the first game. You could summon the Guardians. Any of the 3 characters could do this. And Cecilia was called the Innocent One, and she was the one who was like a summoner as well, so she could do all that stuff. So in Wild Arms 2, they split Cecilia's role of both being a Crest Mage and the summoner into two characters. Lilka is the Crest Mage, and Tim is the summoner. Both are mage class characters, but both operate during different things. Tim can use spells based off what he has learned from the Guardian Stones that he has equipped. Much like in the first game, you can collect Guardian Stones that represent that Guardian. If you equip that to a character and you use the Summon ability, you will be able to summon the Guardian you have equipped. Kind of like how you equip Summon Materia to Cloud or whatever at Final Fantasy VII, you'll be able to summon that summon or whatever. That's very much how this works. You only equip one Guardian Stone per character, and only 4 characters can use summons. Ash, Brad, Lilka, and Tim. And that's mainly because those 4 were the ones present when the Guardian Trials took place. The 2 characters that joined later on were not present, therefore they don't have this ability. So Tim has access to his own certain levels of spells. You equip, for example, the Fire Elemental Guardian to Tim. You will see on his status screen that he has 2 spells he can learn from this Fire Elemental. A level 1 Fire spell and a level 2 multi-target Fire spell. Tim is the only one who can use multi-target Fire spells without using force points. You just need to level them up to level 50 to use them. Or use them first turn. Or you could just accumulate 50 force points through battle by having Tim attack for a couple turns. Then he'll get 50 force points accumulated, and then he'll start to be able to use multi-target attacks. So basically, how do you learn these spells? Well, kind of like Final Fantasy IX, when you equip a weapon, you will see that it requires XAP to unlock that ability to be used without that weapon equipped to the character. That's how it was in Final Fantasy IX. Well, in Wild Arms 2, when you equip a Guardian Stone to Tim, you will see that for example, the number 5 and 20 for the 5 for the level 1 spell and 20 for the level 2 spell. What do those numbers mean? Those numbers means you have to have Tim deliver the killing blow to 5 enemies to unlock that level 1 fire spell, and he needs to deliver the killing blow to 20 enemies to unlock that level 2 fire spell. So you just have Tim kill 20 enemies and you'll unlock both of those spells, then you'll move on to the next Guardian Stone. And there are, I don't know how many, there's less than 20 Guardian Stones, so you're not going to be grinding too heavily here. The most you're going to be grinding is for the final 3 Guardian Lord Stones. The Guardian Lord Stones are going to require 250 points, 250 kills to unlock all of their ultimate spells, 3 spells. But Tim's best attribute is his First Aid spell, which he learns very early on with one of the starting Guardian Stones that you get once Tim is unlocked. And that First Aid is a whole party healing spell. It is slightly weaker than Lilka's heal spell. However, Lilka's heal spell only heals one person. Tim's First Aid heals all 3 members in your active battle party, and he can use this once he has 25 force points acquired, which means once he has 25 force points, he casts First Aid. He still has 25 force points to cast it the very next turn, so he can just keep casting First Aid to heal your entire party literally every turn. So I pretty much used Tim in my active party for the entire game. Tim has the lowest HP out of all 6 characters, though, so you're going to want to keep him alive, because he's very, very breakable. By the end of the game, I did not get to level 99, I got to level 50. By the end of the game, by level 50, Tim had only then just barely broke 4k HP. Everybody else was in 5 to 8k HP. Brad has the highest HP. He will break 8k HP pretty easily. The way you have him break that, though, is there's a thing called personal skills. This is introduced in this game. It's introduced in the second game, and I think it was retroactively introduced in the remake, and it was used in 3 and 4, etc. What personal skills are helps to modify your character's stats and abilities upon level up and modify how they operate in battle. For example, there is called the HP upgrade personal skill, which means your HP will increase by an extra 10% every level up. So for example, if your HP were to increase by 100 points upon leveling up, it will actually increase by 110 points upon leveling up. If you do a second tier, it'll be a 20% increase. So instead of 100 HP upon leveling up, it will be 120 HP upon leveling up. And then 30% for the third and final tier. Everything can be upgraded up to tier 3. Then it will be 130 upon leveling up, etc., 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 etc. So I recommend HP upgrade for everybody as your very first priority. The secondary priority would be the defense that is your character's weakest attribute. For example, your physical attackers are going to have weak magic defense. So you'll want to have magic defense increase upgrade for all 3 of your physical attackers. And for your spell casters, they're going to have low physical defense. So you're going to want to increase that. And then once you have maximized their weaker defense, you'll want to maximize their other stronger defense. That's going to help as well, because what that does is, by the time you've maximized both versions of your defense, if Brad, who already has high physical defense, has maximized his physical defense upgrade personal skill, and he gets attacked by a boss by a regular physical attack, it might do 0 damage. So that is very important. What else? The next character. What is the next character I want to talk about? Well, the fifth character to join is Kanan. I don't know if I'm pronouncing her name right, but I'm just going to be calling her Kanan. That is Kanon. Kanan. I'm just going to say Kanan. And Kanan is of another noble family that descends from the hero who defeated the Demon King 1,000 years ago. So she claims, at least. She carries that bloodline, at the very least. And she's from a branch of the Valeria family. What does that mean? So we have the Valeria family and the Bernadette family, right? They're very noble families. Further up the line, the branches merge further up the family tree. And when they merged, that means they share blood from that original family. So that's why they both contain the blood of the heroine who defeated the Demon King, or at least they claim to. They claim they at least have the blood of the family that the hero who defeated the Demon King was adopted into. It's so as to say. And so she has devoted her entire life to defeating demons. And the main character, Ash Winchester, near the beginning of the game, had a terrible accident. There was the bad guy organization Odessa, who conducted a demon experiment. They opened a portal to the demon plane, and a bunch of demons possessed Ash and all of his comrades. Ash was able to defeat this possession by reclaiming his identity and his body, but the demon that got into his body is still in there somewhere trying to get out. And he's able to utilize this power by transforming using the Access ability. Access is his level 4 force ability, requires 100 force to activate, and it'll allow him to transform into this Demon King form for him to do really high damage attacks, really cool, special, awesome attacks, and you'll definitely be using this for boss fights. But Kanan gets antagonistic towards Ash because the Demon King is in his body, and she wants to kill him to exorcise the Demon King out of there. And so Ash eventually says, dude, come on, I'm not a bad guy. I've got this under control. Why don't you help us defeat the real bad guys? And so Kanan eventually agrees to that, joins the party to fight the real bad guys, which is the Odessa terrorist team, and eventually another encroaching evil in Disc 2. This is a 2-disc game. The first disc you deal with Odessa, the second disc you deal with another thing. And the second disc, they call this enemy the Kuiper Belt. And they call it a universe. But this universe is physical. It's a physical entity, like a meteor or something. and you're physically fighting monsters that are called universes. Do you see the bad translation here? It's so bad. I have no idea what they actually mean here. But yeah. And the sixth and final character is Marivel. Marivel is a Crimson Noble, which basically means she's a vampire. Marivel joined the main hero in defeating the Demon King 1,000 years ago, and now she has come back to do it again. So you recruit her, secret character, you have to go to a optional dungeon, find her, and she will join your party. And you'll need her to access the secret black market shop. And that's another gameplay mechanic that I have to warn you about. Now, why do I warn you about this? Well, it's a simple thing. You've played RPGs. You played Final Fantasy. You played Tales of. You've played the Kiseki. I think it's called Kiseki. The Trails of Cold Steel. Maybe you played Persona. You played Shin Megami Tensei. You played Dragon Quest. You've played JRPGs. What's the one thing that seems to be a trope? Something that was very common in all these games. Going to a shop and being able to buy potions. Healing potions. Simple healing potions. Yeah, potions were in every shop. It was in the first shop you ever went to. Pokemon Gen 1. You go in, there's a potion for your Pokemon to heal their HP by a few points. It's in every RPG you could think of, right? It's not in Wild Arms 2. You go to any of the shops in any of the cities, there are no healing items to buy. You cannot buy them. You can buy status ailment curing items, but you cannot buy healing items or reviving items. They are not sellable. You have to get them through enemy drops or by finding them in the field in treasure chests. That is the only way to obtain healing items and revive items until you get to the black market. Once you have collected Marivel, which is a secret optional character, you will be able to have access to the black market shop, where you can buy healing items. Disc 2, partway through, you'll be able to buy healing items for the first time, which means you will be forced to manage your HP far more conservatively for the first disc and all that stuff. That's why I used Tim in my party for everything. I just had him spam first aid every turn to heal all 3 party members, because most bosses will have attacks that damage the whole party, and if you're just healing one person at a time, or each person healing themselves at a time with a healing item, you're gonna run out of stuff, or one of the guys is gonna die because you heal this guy this turn, then you heal that guy this turn, this guy gets hit 3 times, he's gone. So you're going to have to keep an eye out for that. That's why I used Tim to heal all 3 people every turn. And so you have to increase Tim's magic attack, give him one of the strongest spell books. An optional dungeon will have a really powerful spell book accessory to equip to him to give him really high magic attack, which means he'll be able to heal you for like 1500 HP every turn. And that's incredible because the final boss's strongest attack is going to deal about 1600 damage every time he uses it. So you'll be able to mitigate most of that if you just have him heal every turn. So that's probably what a gameplay choice they made. By getting rid of MP, they made the game too broken with healing spells. Lilka and Tim's healing spells will be able to completely mitigate the need to use healing items. So they wanted you to use their spells. They wanted you to use their spells over healing items. They let you have them, but they wanted you to use the spells instead. And that's what I had to do. I had to use healing spells instead of healing items. And you gotta figure But yeah, what does the Marivelle do? Her abilities. I also have to talk about what Kanan's special abilities are. I told you about her story, but what's her abilities in battle? Kanan's abilities, she became a cyborg to defeat demons. She basically turned her body into a weapon. She's got like a weapon arm. Her arm turns into a blade and all that stuff. She could do some really cool abilities. So, the way she learns new abilities is by sparking, which means she has to use a certain attack a bunch of times while her luck stat is high, and she will have a chance to learn a new ability. She starts with, I think, 3. Each one requires a certain amount of force points to be used, much like everybody else's abilities. Her stuff is very much like Jack's force draw, fast draw abilities. He learned new fast draw techniques by having his luck stat be on highest status and using an attack in battle, and he'll eventually learn that spell. He will eventually learn that fast draw technique. Kanan is very much like Jack was in the first game, so that's basically how she works. The final one, Marivelle, she's a spell caster, much like Lilka and Timur, but she also has some pretty high physical attack. She only has 1 weapon, but you can upgrade it by collecting 3 items, mecha boost items. They're in her optional dungeons. You'll find those, you'll upgrade her weapon, her physical attack by an extra 60 points. Big whoop, right? You can also increase her physical attack by upgrading her physical attack damage, personal skill, but I'd recommend upgrading her magic first, because she's like the blue mage. The blue mage learns enemy abilities. So when Marivelle uses Drain, which is Red Drain or some Crimson Drain, Vampire Blood, drink blood, and all that stuff, she will use the Drain attack on an enemy and take their ability, and she'll be able to cast that ability herself. It's also luck-based, much like Kanan's learning a new skill by using a skill, etc., etc., etc. It's luck-based. So if Marivelle's luck is at maximum and she uses a Crimson Draw to learn a technique, she'll have a higher chance than if she had low luck. Luck is random on how it increases or decreases for a character. Sometimes it could change when you sleep at it in or level up. It will change. Who knows how it's changed, but you can increase your luck during doing various things. You can use an item to increase your luck. The flower item, you can increase it by equipping an item called the amulet. It will increase your luck by 2 stages, which means you will have best, which is the highest luck tier, when your luck is at normal, which is the middle luck tier. Your luck is at a level of 1 to 5. 1 is worst, 2 is bad, 3 is normal, 4 is good, 5 is best. So if you are at normal and you equip the amulet, you will always be at best at any of these 3 tiers. But if you have level 2, you will only be at good luck. And if you're at level 1, you will be at normal luck. So you'll still need some stuff. If you're at level 1 and you equip the amulet, you'll still be here. You'll still need to find a way to increase your luck even further. Luckily, you will find a luck guardian stone spear that Tim can use in an optional dungeon. This luck ability will have Tim be able to cast a luck increasing spell, and it only costs 7 force points to use. So if he's over level 7 by the time you get this stone, you'll be able to cast it at the start of the battle. So if Kanan or Marivelle's luck, whichever one you're trying to learn new techniques for, is under best, you'll have Tim cast this luck increasing spell, and it'll increase their luck by 1 stage. And so all you have to do is keep doing it until their luck increases maximum. And you'll know their luck is maximum by when Tim casts the spell. You'll see X's luck is increased, Y's luck is increased, Z's luck is increased. So if Kanan is Z, and if you're trying to increase her luck by 1 level, and you don't know if she's got maximum luck, you have Tim cast a spell that says Tim's luck is increased at Ash's luck is increased, and we don't see anything about Kanan's luck is increased, that is because her luck is already at maximum. That's how you'll know. It would help if it actually said her luck is at maximum, but that's the way you'll know, is if it doesn't tell you that her luck is increasing. That means her luck is at maximum. But yeah, you do that, and that's how Marivel learns spells. And there's a guide to tell you which enemies have the spells that she needs to learn. There are hundreds of enemies in the world, but only about 25 to 30 of them have the spells that Marivel needs to learn from. So all the rest of them, you will be using Crimson Draw in vain against trying to learn a spell, and they won't have anything for her. Which means you'll need a guide for this. You will need a guide for this. You will need a guide for this. If you want to be stubborn and not use a guide, good luck, buddy. Good luck. You could try to use Force Draw, and since it's luck-based, you could use Force Draw on an enemy that has a spell that you could learn, and it will still fail. So it's not a one-time deal. First try, you will definitely get the spell. So you could try to use Force Draw against every enemy once, and you may not get all the spells, because for the enemies that did have the spells, you will have failed against, but you wouldn't know. So you'll definitely need a guide for this. You will need a guide for this. And that's all I'm going to really talk about the characters. Gameplay is very much identical to the first game, so I don't really need to tell you anything about that outside of how Force is used now, instead of magic points. But outside of that, let's talk about Ash's arms. Ash's arms, you'll need to upgrade accuracy. So it means you're going to sacrifice ammo and bullet and damage because you need to increase his accuracy. Ash does not have access to the lock-on ability, so his accuracy stat for each gun arm will need to be high. I usually increase it up to at least 90%, so that 9 times out of 10 it will work. And then for the last remaining, I give it into damage. And you'll normally put 7 out of your 10 levels into accuracy. Normally. Sometimes you'll put 8 to 9 into accuracy to get it up to 90% accuracy. And then the rest will go into that. So the one stat that you'll normally ignore is ammo count. Because you cannot afford to put a point into ammo when you need accuracy and damage. And I think that's all I wanted to talk about there. There's not much else there left to talk about gameplay-wise. There's a lot of optional places to go. I love that. I love optional side content in games like these. It means you can go off the beaten path. You have the freedom to explore the world and find a bunch of optional dungeons and do things in them. One of the cons, the downsides about the world map for me, is that not all of the icons aren't just on the map. The cities that you could find and visit aren't just on the map. You have this ability on the world map called the search button. You can use search by pressing the square button while you're running around on the map. And if you are close to a town or a dungeon and you press the search function, you will discover that, and the town location or the dungeon location will just suddenly appear on your world map. That by itself isn't a problem for me. It's more how the world map works. What do I mean? You will all have access to teleport, just like in the first game. In the first game, it was a spell that Cecilia could learn. In the second game, it's an item that you have to buy. It's called a teleport stone. You will eventually acquire a reusable teleport item called the teleport orb, which will allow you to teleport between towns. And only towns. You will not be able to teleport to dungeons, same thing as in the first game. But one of the downsides to this is you also lose access to the escape ability. Escape was also a spell for Cecilia to use. Escape basically lets you leave any dungeon you were in and teleports you to the start of the dungeon so that you can exit it without having to go all the way through it again. You could save time, and sometimes when you get past an unpassable area so you can't backtrack, The escape spell was implemented and put in there for that purpose, for you to use it to teleport out of there. And that spell isn't in Wild Arms 2, because you can't use spells outside of battle. That's why they got rid of the MPs. You can't use spells outside of battle. You have to use items outside of battle. They made teleports an item. They should have made escape an item, like in Pokemon, the escape rope item. They should have implemented an escape rope or some sort of thing like that to be able to escape dungeons. They didn't do that. That was very annoying. I was backtracking out of dungeons a lot, and it wasted a lot of time. Another thing, dungeons do not appear on the world map. For example, when you press the select button to open up the world map to see the whole map, you'll see a bunch of red dots on the world map. Those red dots indicate towns. They will indicate towns and villages, so you'll know where all the towns and villages are, but you will not know where all the dungeons are. There will be no, like, yellow dots or green dots for towns, red dots for dungeons. No, there's only red dots for towns and nothing for dungeons. So let's say there's a dungeon that you found that has something that you need a character that you can only get in Disc 2. So you have to go back to that dungeon in Disc 2 to go get something with this new character. But you have no idea where this dungeon was because you haven't been there in hours and days. Depending upon how long you play each day, it could be weeks since you've last been to this dungeon. So you have no idea which one it was. And so you don't know where these dungeons are, where they are. They're not listed on the map. They're not, their names aren't shown. And so I really wish they at least showed the dungeon location dots as dots on the map, so at least you'll know where they are, so you can go check them out and go see, oh, there's this dot here, I'll go there. What's it called? It's called the Lion's Cave. That's the one I want. Go in there, bam. So it's just a small nitpick. I really wish they had that, though. But yeah, that's all I have to say about Wild Arms 2. It's a good story. It's very much told, spread out like an anime would be. And there's even a Wild Arms anime out. You can watch that. It's a pretty good show. The opening, it's got 2 anime openings depending upon which disc you're on. Those are very good. The second disc's anime opening is probably my favorite of the 2. My favorite of all 3 of them, really. The first game and the 2 of the second game. It's my favorite of all 3 of them. The soundtrack, I like the soundtrack. I like the soundtrack more than the first game. The first game does have a lot of charm. It has charm in that Super Nintendo aesthetic that never gets old. Never gets old. Very good. Very timeless. The second one does have some really good soundtrack, though. It's very good. Oh, yeah, let me talk about some other things. There are some other things I do want to say. Final things I forgot to say earlier. One of the things I love about RPGs is talking to the NPCs. And after doing a couple story chapters, those NPCs have something new to say. And that often means somebody had to go in and write dialogue for all of these characters after every single portion of the game so that you could talk to them. And I loved that. I love just getting to talk to characters and learning about their lives, you know. There are these 2 characters in the main city of Maria Bull, which you'll be visiting the most out of all the other locations outside of the Valeria Chateau. And there's these 2 neighbors, and they start out as strangers. And over the course of the game, if you keep talking to them, they'll say that, oh, I met my neighbor the other day after this crisis happened, and she's pretty cute. And you'll talk to her, and she said, that neighbor next door is pretty cute, and all that stuff. And then after a couple more chapters, you'll see that they're dating now. Then after a couple more chapters, you'll see that she's giving him the cold shoulder. Then after a couple more chapters, she's finally come to accept that she cares for him. And then the final part of the game, they've actually gotten, it's sweet. There's a little story. The 2 random characters, 2 NPCs that nobody had to write dialogue for on this level, on this scale. But somebody chose to do that. Somebody chose to give those 2 characters a story. And I love that about games like this. This is why I play JRPGs. To live in that world, to see what these characters are doing after every single chapter and all that stuff. And sometimes the dialogue is just very slight changes. For example, there's a character in the library of the Maria Bull Castle He will constantly be talking about the dead queen, and he'll keep mentioning the current events, saying, "Oh, Odessa attacked. The queen would be very upset about this if she were alive." And then, after you defeat the terrorists, he will say, "Oh, Odessa has been defeated. The queen would be very happy about this if she were alive." Just very slight changes, but I like that they added those changes. They didn't need to, but they added them. So that's pretty cool. So I talked to everybody to see what they had to say, and there were a lot of people that had different dialogue that some were just slight, some were very different, like those two neighbors stories. There's a lot of those stories like that, which I was very happy to see. I was very happy to see that. And once again, bookcases return. You can walk up to a bookcase, you click it, and you'll be able to read about the lore of the world, which is very nice. And I loved that. It's one of my favorite things about Dragon Quest VIII, that they had a bunch of bookcases you could read stuff from. That's how you got a lot of alchemy pot recipes. And in Wild Arms 2, it's how you learned about the world. And same with Wild Arms 1. I loved that. I loved seeing it. I loved finding bookcases. I read every single one of them. And a great thing that they did was that some of the bookcases were in... It's just the small things. You know, the small things that really make a game lived in. The bookcases. The NPCs, the way the map looks with ruins, things look lived in. It's like something I said about Grandia 3. There was this big ruin, this big chateau on top of this mountain with a really amazing architecture. And there was nothing, nobody said anything about it. None of the characters mentioned anything about that thing being there. I wanted to know what it was. I wanted to know who built that. Who built this? It's things about that really give the world that lived in stuff. Just that stuff. But yeah, I think I'm done here. I can't really think of anything else to say about this. That's Wild Arms 2. I liked it more than Wild Arms 1 in a lot of ways. Wild Arms 1 is very charming for what it was, but I'm very glad that they did a remake for the PS2. I'm very glad they did this, but yeah. Sony, you need to either remaster Wild Arms 2 and re-release that with a better translation, or do that and bring out all the rest of the Wild Arms games. And bring that onto your current console, put it onto your PlayStation Network, and put it into the PC for all the PC Steam players and all that stuff. So everybody's got access to it. You need to do this. Do this with Wild Arms. Do it with Breath of Fire. Do it with the early Persona games. Bring this stuff back. Star Ocean. Do it with Star Ocean too. 1 through 3. 1, 2, and 3 need a remaster. Package that together. Bring it out there. Do it. Do it. Bring it all back.